Thank you for joining us for our first coronavirus update of 2021. We have a lot to get to today. Joining us will be some special guests, some former Orange County elected officials who will receive the vaccine at the very end of our news conference. Mayor Jerry L. Demings will introduce our guests and update our residents on the vaccination efforts that are being undertaken in the county. Following Mayor Demings will be Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer, who will be talking about city business and the vaccines. Dr. Raul Pino and his team have been working tirelessly to vaccinate as many Orange County residents as possible, and Dr. Pino will have an update on upcoming appointments. Following Dr. Pino will be Dr. Barbara Jenkins, the superintendent of Orange County Schools, and she will have an update on schools. This is the second day that students have been back in class since the holiday break. And finally, Orange County Comptroller Phil Diamond will provide us with the latest in tourist tax numbers from November of 2020. Mayor Demings.
Let me say good afternoon to all of you, and I'll begin by also wishing everyone a Happy New Year. We last had a briefing on the 28th of December, so since that time a lot has occurred. As we move forward today, I'm going to tell you in advance, I know that some of you perhaps will have some questions about the circumstances in Washington, D.C. that has unfolded at the United States Capitol. Any of the questions related to that, at the end of the press conference, myself and others will be glad to respond to those questions. So I just don't want that to occur during the process of this press conference. So as we talk about 2021, who would have thought that when we went under a state of emergency in March of 2020, in January of 2021, we will still be under a state of emergency here within our nation, within our state, and within our county. I don't think anyone had anticipated that. But we have several special guests that have joined us today as we endeavor to vaccinate more people in our community. It is important that we address some of the healthcare disparities that are historic and systemic within the American society. And there's some genuine distrust among minority communities, particularly in Black and brown communities. And we really want to encourage our community to get vaccinated if we are going to stop or slow the spread of the virus within our community, for the overall good public health of our community. So we have some individuals who have joined us who are going to volunteer to be vaccinated. We have the Honorable Mabel Butler, former Orange County Commissioner who represented Orange County's District 6 from 1990 through 1998. And prior to that, she served in the City of Orlando as a City of Orlando Commissioner, also representing the City of Orlando District 6. She will be vaccinated today. In addition, we have the Honorable Homer Hartage, former Orange County Commissioner who represented District 6 from 1998 through 2006. He succeeded the Honorable Mabel Butler. He's here today, and he'll be vaccinated. And then we have the Honorable former United States Senator and Orange County Mayor, Mayor Martinez. He served here as Orange County Mayor from 1998 through 2000. He's also the former HUD Secretary under former President George W. Bush. Thank you for being here today. We know that we need their leadership to help move our community in a certain community, and I'm privileged to see that they are still willing to be of service to our community. They are here to get their first coronavirus vaccine shot and show, again, all communities of color and all people, I should say, that it is safe to do so. So now, let's talk a little bit about some of the other things happening in our community. I'm going to say happy Three Kings Day here within our community. Tis the season. Since our last news conference, however, since Monday, December the 28th, it has been an incredibly busy time for the health department here within Orange County. The Orange County Convention Center vaccination site has been administering the vaccine to our residents since last Tuesday. So far, the total number of Orange County residents that have received their vaccination as of yesterday was 22,117. Dr. Pino may have some more current numbers. That represents about 1.5% of our population. Remember, Orange County's population is now about 1.4 million people. It is especially heartening to learn that 111 of the recipients are over the age of 95. My 98-year-old father received his vaccination today at the Orange County Convention Center site. I couldn't be prouder of Dr. Pino and his staff at the Department of Health at Orange County, who have been really working double shifts for the last week or so to get those 65 and older vaccinated. Yesterday, we received an additional 19,500 doses of the Pfizer vaccine. Of course, you know that Moderna was the previous pharmaceutical manufacturer of the doses that have been distributed here within our community. The Pfizer doses are being stored in our ultra-low freezers, our ultra-low temperature freezers, and they're ready to go. With the additional doses, I want to announce that even more Orange County Health Services and EMS workers are joining Dr. Pino's team. You know, our paramedics and with Orange County Fire Rescue and other paramedics from local fire departments are joining us in that effort to ensure that we have ample staff to be able to inoculate our residents. Dr. Pino will talk more about that in just a few moments. In the meantime, I urge those who qualify to go online now and register your information so that when appointments open, you are ready. Just as a reminder, we're talking about individuals 65 and older with appropriate ID. Now, I am told that there's some individuals who were younger, who went on and tried to register, but didn't have proper ID, obviously. So this is right now for those 65 and older. That is the directive we received from the state. Residents can also put their email address for updates via email. You can download our app, OCFL Alert, for other ways to be able to access the information. Our residents can also text us at OCFL COVID to 888-777. That's 3 8s and 3 7s for vaccine updates. We also have personnel ready at our 4 Orange County community centers to help register seniors to get the vaccine when appointments reopen. The community centers are Holden Heights, Pine Hills, East Orange, and Taft. You can go to ocfl.net/community centers to see the locations. So each week, when we begin the week, we try to give you the goals for the week. My goals for this week remain the same as they were for most of the weeks during the latter half of 2020. We continue to work towards slowing the spread of the virus within our community. We want to get to the point where we not only slow it, but we stop the spread of the virus. We continue to assist the State Department of Health in Orange County in the distribution of the vaccine to those 65 and older. I am told that Orange County leads the state in terms of the number of distributions at this point. And I think that's because of the collaborative effort between Orange County government and the State Department of Health in this regard. We will keep offering free COVID-19 testing at Barnett Park through January. We want our residents to know if they are positive or not, and the best way that you can do that is to get a test. So we're offering the free testing. Our eviction diversion program will remain open until the end of the month. This program works with landlords and their rent-stressed tenants to help families avoid eviction. We're simply trying to keep people in their homes. Since the pandemic began, there have been a total now of 82,155 cases in Orange County. 1,018 new cases were reported yesterday alone. It took us weeks or months, a couple of months before we got up to 1,018 cases. We are now seeing that in one day. This also includes, we now have 776 Orange County residents who have died as a result of the coronavirus. That is an increase of 44 deaths since our last briefing on December the 28th. On December the 28th, which was Monday last week, we had 73,691 cases. As of yesterday, 82,155 cases. Our hearts certainly go out to all of those families who have experienced a loss or who have been directly impacted by a family member who tested positive. Every day I talk to numerous individuals who are impacted, county employees who are testing positive, who are hospitalized. Every day I talk to one of my staff members in the hospital. Our county health services site at Barnett Park will continue to offer tests 7 days per week from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. through at least January the 30th. We are still asking residents to get in line before noon, as the line has been closed by early afternoon to accommodate all cars in line. The site offers both the PCR, molecular, and the rapid tests. For information about testing, you can go to ocfl.net/testing and click on number 1, and you will see the testing map that will come up. Our eviction diversion program is taking applications through January the 29th. So far, 2,800 families have been able to stay in their homes and not become homeless as a result of our eviction diversion program. We will keep the online application portal open until the funds are depleted or there's a transition to the federal rental assistance program in the most recent stimulus bill. Visit ocfl.net/eviction diversion for a full list of eligibility criteria and required documents. Before I turn things over to Mayor Dyer, I want to thank many of our businesses who have generously provided food to the Department of Health and our workers there at the Convention Center. They are Disney Springs Toasted and Bonefish Grill. I also want to call your attention to the compliments that Dr. Pino and his team have been receiving from those who got their first shots at the Convention Center. Many of our residents have been showing up in their vehicles with signs taped to their windows. I'm so thankful and excited to get this vaccine. That's a bit of an oddity, don't you think? People excited to get a shot. That's not all. Many of our residents have taken to social media to tweet their thanks to Dr. Pino and his team, and you can see some of those tweets behind us. I want to read just two of them. One says, today was a home run vaccine rollout. My husband and I arrived at 7:45 a.m. New Year's Eve, progressed through the convention center following well-marked directions, got screened and vaccinated without ever leaving our car, and on the road again at 9:15 a.m. The second one says, I got my vaccine today. Very well coordinated. Went quickly and efficiently, and I was done in no time. I am so grateful for this. Thank you. My very own father today told me that he arrived at about 12:30, and he was done by 1 p.m. So thank you to the dedicated healthcare workers who are making sure that the vaccine gets into the arms of those who need it the most. Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Thank you, Mayor Demings, and I want to welcome and thank the commissioners, the senator for being here, and thank you for your many years of public service. I couldn't add them all up together. 16, 8, 12, yeah, okay, a lot of service, and we appreciate you. And then to come and be an example of why you need to get the vaccine and how easy it is to do. I want to start my remarks with Happy New Year, but it's not a particular happy day today. We've had a mob, I guess, overrun our United States Capitol. And they're not demonstrators, they're not protesters, they're rioters, and I'd say they're domestic terrorists. And it makes me angry to think about it. It makes me sad to think about it. Whole range of emotions. Never thought something like that could happen in the United States from people that claim to be Americans. But one thing I always tell my staff, you need to be able to compartmentalize and work on the things that are in your lane. So Mayor Demings, I appreciate the fact that you continued to conduct this press conference today and to focus on the vaccine and fighting COVID, because that's what we can do in our community today. So let me talk about that just for a few minutes. I had the opportunity to be vaccinated the first shot last week on Tuesday, I think. And I can tell you, when they gave me the shot, I had to ask the nurse, are you going to give that to me? And she said, oh, I already did. So it doesn't hurt at all. And I got a B12 shot later that week and realized that hurts a lot more than the vaccine does. So anybody that's concerned about that aspect of it, you shouldn't be concerned about that. And we know from the science that the vaccine is effective, and that everybody that can get it when it becomes available to them should get it. Right now, it's for those that are over 65 and healthcare providers, and I guess first responders at some point in the not too distant future. And there has been some reluctance in some communities to do that, so I appreciate some of our public officials from the past coming and being great examples of why we need to do that. We also have our senior centers, El Claudia Allen Center and the Beardoff Center, that are helping people with their application process. And I can tell you, Mayor, I got some reports back that it did take a little while to take some seniors that aren't particularly computer literate to go through the process, but we stand ready in the city of Orlando at our senior centers to assist with that. I was going to talk about rental assistance and give you some numbers and some small business assistance, but I think I'm just going to conclude my remarks right there and just remind people that even though you're getting your shot, you need to wear your mask, you need to practice good hygiene, you need to socially distance. We need to do everything that we can to stop the spread. And Dr. Pino is going to talk about some of the numbers. They don't look good for us right now. The light's there at the end of the tunnel in terms of having a vaccine, but we've certainly had a spike in the positive tests, and I'm not sure that that's even reflective of the Christmas holiday yet. So we need to do everything that we can to protect ourselves and protect our families and our friends. Thanks. Dr. Pino.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Thank you, everyone. Well, happy holidays. We haven't seen you since then. And also for the Latino community, happy Three Kings Day. Feliz Dia de Reyes. So our numbers are not pointing in the right direction. That has been evident during the last few days. And also, we have alerted our community that this could happen about this time. And I think that it could get even a little bit worse if we do not increase and adhere to CDC measures. And to everyone question what we are seeing right now, at least here in Orange County, is an overlapping of holidays. And that's the huge increase in the number of cases that we have seen. We are average above 1,000 cases a day, and that's significant for our place. So significant that our recovery rate has decreased from 91 that we were holding steady to 88%. And the total number of cases as of today at 9 o'clock in the morning, accumulative, were 82,155. We also have the unfortunate news that 45 people have died since we talked to you on December 28th. I don't think that we ever had this number of deaths reported to us in such a period of time, short period of time. And we are going to see also continue to see an increase in the number of deaths, because we have seen an increase in hospitalization, an increase in ICU bed usage, and an increase in hospital visits. And death rate is the last of the indicators that move with the pandemic, either up or down, but it's the last of those indicators. And we continue to see an increase in ICU beds. And remember, I have mentioned to you that about 50% of the people who get into ICU for COVID-19 more likely will die. The mortality rate for COVID-19 in ICU is very, very, very high. With that, our median age is 37 years old, and in the last 14 days, we have over 6,000, in the last 7 days, we have over 6,000 new cases reported to us. So with that, what do we have to do? We have to continue to use masks, no matter the fact that we have started the vaccine, no matter if you have been vaccinated. Remember, reinfections has been seen. It's not common. It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. And it's also protecting others and protecting yourself, but also making a statement about the need to protect our community. We have to wash our hands, we have to clean surfaces, and we have to watch our distance. We are not out of the woods yet. There is some light at the end of the tunnel. But so for people to understand, the vaccine right now, at the levels that we are giving it, we have an impact on the individuals that we are giving the vaccine, but not the community at large yet. We need to achieve higher percentage of people immunized to see some of those results. I want to talk to you about our immunization, and thank you to everyone in the community that have been supportive of us, the restaurants providing the lunch and dinner for our staff. That has been amazing and incredible for them to sacrifice some of their holidays. But also the tears, the emotion, the care, and the thankfulness of the people who are receiving this vaccine as they go through the convention center. And what a place to have in Orange County. And if you were to design a place to do a mass vaccination event, it would be that place. That place is just absolutely up to the task that we are doing. So far, we have done the county in total, and Mayor, these numbers came after we talked around 1 o'clock. The total for the county is 25,326 individuals have been vaccinated in our county. 216 of those vaccinated were not county residents. And our rate of immunization has elevated now to 1.7. So we are hitting about 2% of our population. Now, we have some good news and some expectations to moderate. First, understand that the demand is so high that we will not be able to meet it right now. We are doing the best we can, but we will not be able to meet the demand yet. And remember what happened at the beginning when the testing was happening. It will become available. It will be more places. It will be giving a largest number as our inventory increase. So we have decided, due to the flow in the place, the support from the fire department, health services, and the county, that we can add 500 appointments more a day. So we are doing about 1,500 a day. Some days can go up to 1,600 a day. We are going to go to 2,000 appointments a day. That's the first. Second, we are going to reopen the website tomorrow at 8 o'clock so that people can make appointments. Those 500 will be the ability to make appointments for these days starting tomorrow. You can come tomorrow and the other days of the week if you have an appointment. We are going to be doing it 6 days a week, and we are doing 2 shifts a day. So we are working 16 hours to be able to do 200 people a day and 200 people an hour, 2,000 people a day through the process. We always bill an hour for lunch and another hour to open and close because we have to replenish our supplies. Now, it is important that you have this QR code when you come to us. All your data, all your information is contained in here. And that's why we are able to move so many people into the lines, because we scan these and we have all your information ready for us. And it is important also because this will determine your next appointment for your second dosage. Now, with the second dosage, it is important to know that we are going to start giving Pfizer also at the convention center. And you know, Pfizer has 21 days for the second dosage. Moderna has 28 days for the second dosage. Now, those days are minimum days. It can go after that. And I'm saying this intentionally because as we build a clientele base, appointment may move beyond the 28 days. If we see more people, it is okay. You don't have to restart your vaccination. When your second appointment is due, you come, you will get it. Also, the CDC guidelines allow for 72 hours before and 72 hours after the 28 days. So we are in conversation with the state. We haven't received the okay yet, but we are trying to make both vaccines second dosage at a specific day so that with that we avoid confusion in our seniors and the community at large. Technically, it's possible, but we haven't received authorization. So that could come later. But for now, 28 days for Moderna, 21 days. You get your second appointment when you make your first appointment, and your appointment could go beyond the 21 days or the 28 days, and that is absolutely fine. We will answer any questions that you have. Oh, sorry, no. We have Dr. Jenkins, not just us today, the superintendent of schools. Sorry, Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Dr. Pino. Certainly happy to be here and so impressed with our community heroes to encourage participation in the vaccine. I want to make mention, we did ask the governor to consider employees who work with our children to be considered next in line for those vaccines. Not had a positive response to date. At this time, they will not be considered. And I want to be very clear. Someone asked me this question. I was not asking to jump the line. I was asking for teachers and paraprofessionals and bus drivers and custodial workers and cafeteria workers principals and assistant principals who are with our children every day, we were asking for them to be considered next in line. And so we remain hopeful, the board and I remain hopeful that there may be some consideration. We did have about 18,000 students return to school yesterday. It is true that a few showed up on Monday. Monday was a teacher work day, so they had to go back home if they showed up on Monday. Yesterday was our first day back. Pretty uneventful. We were pleased with how well the day went on yesterday. I can't thank enough those parents who are still able to keep their children at home. Every parent has to choose what's best for their children. But I want to thank those who are keeping their children at home. With 18,000 being added, it puts us right at about 51% in our school setting. So that gives us the opportunity to try to keep some social distancing going and other safety measures that are in place. So thanks to those who are able to still do the Launch Ed at Home program. No apologies. Either way, whatever choice was made, we are happy to serve our children. The 18,000 is a baseline for those returning. This week there will be additional notices going out to families. If your child has been struggling academically, the schools will again be contacting them. There will be letters that go out that actually require signatures from a parent. If their child is struggling and they still want to keep the child at home, they will need to sign and acknowledge that decision that we believe might be somewhat damaging to their academic progress. So we say 18,000, we know the number will grow in the next week or so. I also want to report our dashboard had some extreme increases over the break. We expected that. 14 days out of school during winter break. We had reports that were voluntarily provided to us, about 500 cases. I believe the majority was still adults versus our students, but additional cases. Those are individuals that would have been staying home if they'd not already reached the required days of quarantine. We will continue to monitor. Our system will never be perfect because we depend on some self-reporting and on the technology that tallies up our numbers. What I can guarantee you is that we will continue to work with the Department of Health, Dr. Pino and his very capable team, to keep our data as transparent as possible. Have to stress again, if an individual tests positive or someone in the home tests positive, or they don't feel well, we've asked them, please do not come to school, do not come to work, do not send your child to school. And then I want to stress once again, for our bus riding, we're very pleased. About 5,000 students were added to our bus riding ranks for the start of school yesterday, and we've asked parents, if at all possible, transport your own child so that we don't have additional crowding on our school buses, because we've been able to keep about one student per seat for additional distancing on the school bus, and they are wearing masks on the bus, and there's ventilation on the bus. And so at this point, we feel very confident that those numbers are still very manageable for our school buses. Want to encourage our parents, if they are eligible for bus riding, that they still consider transporting their own child. In the meantime, I want to thank again our wonderful teachers, all of our employees, our principals who worked tirelessly to get those schedules revamped for 18,000 students returning, and for the tremendous job of opening schools on yesterday. Thank you. And now we will hear from Comptroller Phil Diamond.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. I'd first like to thank everybody involved in all the work involved with the vaccines and working so well and getting people vaccinated. I know it's hard. It's something where everybody, or a lot of people, want to be vaccinated right away, and just thank you to everybody, Dr. Pino, your team, and everyone else for all the good work they're doing. I'm here to announce the November tourist development tax collections, and for November, the number of our collections was $8,765,000. That's a 66% decrease from last November. However, as you will see on our chart, that is the 7th consecutive month of increases. Obviously, that's going in the right direction. However, that said, we are still not where we need to be. As you'll see from the chart, the two blue numbers on the far right are this fiscal year's collections, and you can compare the last one, which is November, to previous Novembers in the green and the red, and see just how far behind we are. There is good news on the horizon, obviously, with the distribution of the vaccines, either for people traveling or for people here who might be vaccinated. That's obviously going to keep people healthier. It'll also increase the sense of safety that travelers want to feel before they choose to travel. At the same time, the numbers we've heard about the pandemic and infection rates and the spread of the virus are not good. So I would like to also say, from the standpoint of people who are out of work or have had their hours cut or have had their business shut down because of COVID issues, the best thing we can do is wear our masks. I'd also like to report on the expenditure side with the county. As you know, the county's been using tourist development tax reserves since April, and the total number since April is $93 million. Last month, in the month of November, we used between $5 and $6 million, right around $5.5 million. I'll be happy to take any questions later, and we will have the December numbers in early February. Thank you.
Okay, what we're going to do at this point is open it up for any questions that you may have in the traditional format that we use. Questions first related to our efforts related to the coronavirus, and then if there are questions that will follow regarding the issues in Washington, we will take them up after that, and then we'll get to vaccinating these individuals who have joined us today. So, okay, questions, let's see, there we go.
Hi there, Lara Greenberg, Fox 35. This is for Dr. Pino. You mentioned the 28 days and the 21 days for Moderna and Pfizer, and the wiggle room that we actually have. Is there a threshold, like once it hits 40 days, it's no longer viable for that second dose?
There is no threshold at this point.
And just as a follow-up real quick, do we have those second doses in-house ready to go, or are we still waiting for those to be shipped?
So the instruction for the state is keep doing first dosage, we will provide you. Now, keep in mind that something could happen, meaning that the flow is not there, the distribution. But it is important, and that's a very good question for people to know, that even one dosage gives you immunity. Not sufficient to go to the level that you need to, but it protects to some level. And that's why that second booster is needed to achieve, the 95 protection. But it is important to give people the first dosage, because in a pandemic environment, what you want to do is to vaccinate as many people as possible, as fast as possible. And that's what we are trying to do. So the instruction for the state, don't worry about second dosage, you will get it when it's time for it. Now, our second dosage is not due until the 23rd. So we have some time.
Oh, Dr. Pino, don't go away, please. This is Eric Mock, Spectrum News 13. You said, the number of people with COVID-19 in the ICU is very high. We're hearing about other parts of the U.S. where they're having to treat people in the hallways because they can't even get the people in the rooms. What is the situation like in our ICUs here in Central Florida?
So I can give you the numbers. Thank you for asking that question. So the situation is that dire in other areas of the country, California, Texas, and some other places. But fortunately for us, that's not the situation here. Now, remember that we are in Central Florida, we are the hub for the health systems. And our health system expands across Central Florida and across counties. So their numbers as a system could be different to what I'm going to tell you. What I'm going to tell you is what we have in the county. Okay? So as of yesterday at 7 o'clock, 23% of our beds were available, and that's with elective procedures. Last night we have 1,123 beds in general. Ventilators available last night at 7 o'clock, 387. That's about 56% of our total inventory of ventilators yesterday. The total inventory was 685. There were 66 people on ventilators at ICU beds, and 84 total number of people on ICU for COVID-19. The total number of people hospitalized yesterday at 7 o'clock at night was 423. That is from 419 the day before. So the numbers are, we have the capacity, and as the mayor had mentioned before, every day at 1 o'clock, the mayor has an executive call. The health systems are part of that. They have reported increase in the number of cases, but they also reporting that they have the ability to manage the situation as it is right now. And that's why it's so critical to continue to protect and prevent ourselves from getting this, because we don't want to get to a point where healthcare has to be rationalized. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but we have seen in the news that even oxygen has become rationalized in some areas. So how that critical is to keep a healthy inventory of beds so that we can take care of heart attacks and accidents and other situations, emergencies that can happen in our families. Thank you.
This is Melissa Thomas of Florida National News. This question is for Mayor Demings. Just wanted to ask a follow-up question with regards to the businesses that have been seen as kind of in violation for the month of December. Just wanted to get like that status update. Have you seen with the implementation of the fines kind of a decrease in the violations, or like do you feel it is serving as a good deterrent?
If memory serves me correctly, we have done some 7,200 plus site visits, some of them multiple times, however. And Tim, is it 66? Okay, 66 warnings, 10 citations. Is that right? Okay, I got the numbers right. 10 citations. So what we're seeing over time in terms of the overall compliance is it has gone up 98+%, almost 99%. I think it's 98.7% of compliance. So that's good news. We had at one point the compliance rate was lower, in the 80s. So over time we are gaining compliance, and I think that the message that has been sent to our business community is real clear. We're serious about what we're doing. That doesn't mean that we don't continue to get reports of some violations. Our team goes out proactively and tries to work with that business to gain compliance. We provide them with collateral materials, with PPE and other things so that they can truly be successful. And then if they just don't want to comply, then we're going to fine them. That's the way it's going to work. So I think all of that has resulted, we've used every strategy that we could here within our county, from an abundance of testing to now vaccinating individuals to having accountability measures in place. That has kept our numbers relatively low, even though for the last few days we have seen positivity rates that have been double digits, 14 to 16% positivity rates. That's almost twice what it was maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. So we don't have the miserable experience that Dr. Pino alluded to in some other large metropolitan communities, I think because of many of the efforts that we have in place, where we were not reluctant to early on put a facial covering order in place. That is not something that is consistent throughout the state of Florida. It is not something that is consistent throughout America. I've had the opportunity to do a little bit of travel recently, and I have recognized in some other communities, they're not wearing facial coverings. And so they pay the piper when they don't follow the CDC recommended guidelines. Okay, the mic is here now.
You may have answered my question here a little bit, but Steve Hudak from the Sentinel, this is for Dr. Pino. Some of the numbers we're seeing, we have not seen in months. And if I heard you right, we may not have seen the worst yet. So what should we be doing? And should we have some concern about our hospital systems? I know you said there's inventory, but could fill up quickly.
Yes, there's inventory, but also these disease transmit at such a fast rate that it could take on that inventory in a couple of weeks if we don't get it smart. Most people in our community have adhered to disease guidelines, but there was a little bit of trouble for Thanksgiving, and the same for Christmas. And of course, probably the same for New Year's, although it's a little bit early for New Year, but we are getting right there to the numbers. As the numbers increase in the thousands of cases, a few things happened. First, we are not able to trace and investigate every single case. It's not possible. It's like drinking from a fire hose. You just can't. And so we have made some predetermination who gets tracked. And we explained that before to our community. Also, transmission was not happening at the schools as we explained before. It was happening out in the community. And that's why also during this break, we have seen a jump on the number of cases on student-age children because it is happening in the community at large. And we have advised people to even take some measures inside your house if the place is free of COVID-19 and no one had it in the home. And it could be going as far as masking people who are 65 years and older in your home that have pre-existing conditions. We really, really need to protect these individuals. And home, as I explained before, is a place where everyone is coming from different directions at 5 o'clock when we get together for dinner. So it's crucial to keep home clean. And that goes from the knob door to open the door when you touch it to the entire surfaces in the house. And taking some step that everyone, when they come into your house, even your family members, should wash their hands, clean themselves before they get into hugging, touching, and talking to other people. We need to protect each other, and because of these numbers and the number of people that we have hospitalized and the number of people that we have in ICU beds, things will get worse if we don't curb this. Thank you.
This next question was texted in from Lauren Seabrook for you, Dr. Pino. Lauren Seabrook from WFTV. Dr. Pino, with the high number of people testing right now, are you concerned that it's taking many people up to 3 days to get a test? And what can be done to improve that issue?
So that's an interesting question in the sense that when is testing enough? So testing is not the only strategy in fighting COVID-19. So we got a group of individuals, we think, we are trying to reason in why we have seen numbers of testing this high. Some days we are doing close to 10,000 tests a day, or receiving results, I should say, of 10,000 tests a day. So we have a rush before the holidays, because I think people wanted to know if they were negative to be able to travel and get in touch with the family. We are having a rush right now of the people who travel that want to know if they acquire. I think the demand is going to go down in a couple of weeks. At this point, any amount of testing capacity that we increase will be overwhelmed because the demand is so high. But remember, we at some point we're doing 200 tests a day. Our county is receiving close to 10,000 tests a day.
And Dr. Pino, many families that she's heard from are tired of waiting on CVS or Walgreens to get their loved ones vaccinated in assisted living facilities. They're taking them to public sites. Do you recommend that for now, or what advice would you have for those?
I think people need to be just a little bit more patient. I think the state is going to come out with an announcement on what is going to happen with long-term care facilities. I know, but I have, I don't know if that has been announced, so I should not go ahead of the news.
Thank you. This next question is for Phil Diamond. Deanna Albertin with WFTV. Phil, she wants to know what you think as far as the outlook for the rest of the year in light of the MPE Plastic Show canceling its in-person convention at the convention center?
Well, I think in the short term, I think December is going to be a good month. Seasonally, December is typically a good month. We've been on an upswing. As far as shows canceling, we've had a number of shows cancel. We've also had a number of shows reschedule. We've had a number of shows that have opted to go to some combination of online and in person. And I think the real test is going to be coming up how we do as far as the COVID numbers and how we're doing as far as vaccines and how quickly we can get vaccines into the arms of people here and into people around the country.
And this last one is for you, Dr. Pino, from Ryan Lynch in the Orlando Business Journal. Dr. Pino, how would the addition of vaccine distribution locations work? Will the county add locations similar to maybe a Camping World Stadium or UCF as it has more doses made available?
I think all choices are open. The hospitals will increase their footprint into the community. We are not going to be the only one, the only show in town. There are going to be multiple. UCF has expressed interest and they are ready to do a pod. So we are working with that. That's a possibility. But we will follow the state guidelines. If we do, for example, if we get engaged with UCF, and just using it as an example, they are great partners. It will only be 65 years old UCF employees. So it's going to be closed pods, but respecting and following the guidelines from the state.
Okay, at this point, if there are any questions regarding the situation in our nation's capital, we will respond to those questions at this time. She's moving the mic around. She's going to bring it around to you. Mysteriously, the mic moves throughout the room, right?
Well, first off, just have you heard from your wife? Have you talked to her? I mean, I know she's been tweeting, so I think we can assume she's safe. But yeah, what have you heard from Representative Dennis? Yeah.
I have heard from, I had the opportunity to talk to her, and to put it bluntly, what happened there was just disappointing as hell for me, because she said that she was in the Capitol, and at some point when the Capitol was overrun by disruptive individuals, the Capitol Police closed the doors and began to try to maintain that closure by putting furniture in front of the doors. Guns were drawn, and the members of Congress were directed to get on the floor and to don gas masks. Arguably, to me, in the free world, the leading nation in the world, that should never happen in the Capitol building itself. I think the members of Congress deserve better than that from the American people. So she was quite upset about it. She felt that there were colleagues, and including the president, helped to incite the circumstances that unfolded. And I think that that attitude is shared amongst many Americans. For our family personally, there was a period of time where we were not able to communicate with her, and so we went through the emotional roller coaster of not knowing whether she was safe or not. So the last conversation I had with her, she had been safely evacuated to another building, but was still there with armed police. Still was not able to leave, and the other staff members working there on behalf of the American people were directed to essentially shelter in place. They were told to lock themselves into their house offices. And so it was, I think, a tense situation, to say the least. And but I think more importantly, just huge disappointment that it happened. But I think it certainly could have been avoided. Okay. Other questions?
Sandra Dorsey from Sendor TV, IET TV Orlando. Thank you so much for everyone being here and sharing this information, very helpful. I have a two-part question. The first is, as far as what's happening in Washington now, and are you taking some kind of putting measures in place for the metro Orlando area in case it spreads to this area? And I want to go back to the COVID question. So the COVID, pertaining to COVID, of course, you know, I'm from the Haitian community, and how effective have you been, or your measures have been, is reaching Haitians, the Haitian community, as it pertains to COVID spread prevention?
So the first part of the question, in terms of are we taking proactive measures here if what happened in Washington spreads, the answer is yes. You know, within our law enforcement community, there's been some sharing of active intelligence information between various levels of government. I believe that our staffs are very capable. There's no indication at this point, however, that what happened in Washington will happen here, but you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best, and so that is underway. I think in terms of our preparation for adequately dealing with the spread of the virus amongst the Haitian community, we have not excluded any diaspora within our community. We've been inclusive. We have ensured that we have communicated in Creole, Spanish, various other languages. We do have, and we've invited representatives of the Creole or Haitian community to participate in these press events, and you have done so. We have participated in ad campaigns and other campaigns to make certain that we are reaching respective communities. And so we're going to continue to do that. We have tried not to leave any particular segment of our community behind during this process. And we strive for perfection in this county, but we realize that we're not perfect. We have not reached perfection. So any feedback that our citizens give through social media and otherwise, our staff mines the social media comments regularly throughout the day, and we try to be responsive in that regard. Okay. Other questions?
Right here. Melissa Thomas, I'm with Florida National News. Just out of curiosity, want to gain your kind of opinion on this. Given your experience with emergency management here in Orange County, what are your thoughts on the way that the mob situation was handled in D.C. from that emergency management standpoint?
There was an utter failure there. They should have anticipated what occurred, that the crowd would be there. I just happen to have been in Washington, D.C. Over the weekend. I flew back here on Monday evening, and before I left, I saw the gatherings began there in Washington at the Capitol. And so I know from that point, based upon my training and experience, they should have been proactive. However, I think what perhaps was not expected, that complicated the people who were there freely expressing their First Amendment right, was the president. The president's comments today, even though I was busy today, I had the opportunity to see and hear some of the comments and the situation that was unfolding. And those of us in leadership roles, we have a moral responsibility, an ethical responsibility to ensure that the words that we use are words that unite us, not divide us. We have a responsibility to ensure that we do not inadvertently incite public disorder or violence. And I'm disappointed as an American. I'm an American first, I'm a Floridian second, and I'm a lifelong resident of Orange County. And I'm just expressing my opinion. Regardless of my political affiliation, I was disappointed, like I know many other Americans were, in the speech that was given by the President of the United States. Arguably the most powerful individual in the free world did not exhibit the attributes of what I expect, and I believe most of us expect, out of a sitting president, to unite us. We are indeed one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. And if you believe that, regardless of how you get elected, where you stand, once you get in office, you represent all people. As the Orange County mayor, I do not make my decision based upon whether somebody is a D or an R. You won't ever hear me do that. And so I don't have that expectation out of any other elected person or leader in our great nation. So, okay, I'm gonna get off of my horse. Are there other questions?
Yes. Nikki Zizazo with News 6. This question is for both Mayor Demings and Mayor Dyer. We continue. Oh, this is for both of you, so you're not off the hook. But everyone has kind of been characterizing this group as either protesters, demonstrators, a mob. Mayor Dyer, how do you characterize the people who are responsible for what's going on in D.C. right now?
Well, we saw peaceful protests in our community, peaceful demonstrations with people marching around with signs, and that I would characterize as protesting or demonstrating. Breaking windows and using physical force to overrun the Capitol of the United States is not peaceful demonstrating or peaceful protesting. They're a mob. I would go so far as to label them as domestic terrorists. There's cameras there. There's a lot of people that should be arrested for what they did today. We've been here for the last hour and a half, so I don't know what's played out, but as I was arriving, the president was finally at least asking them to leave the Capitol and to go home, but he was continuing to press issues that would simply inflame the mob more. So I don't know whether that helped in any way. So I don't know if they've left the Capitol, they've been able to clear it. The National Guard was on their way there when we came in here today. But I wouldn't expect any American to have had the conduct that they had today.
I can just say ditto on that, right? The only thing that I will add is that I think that we have these symbols of America. The United States Capitol is one of those symbols. And you can't argue on the one hand, respect the Constitution, respect the President, respect those in leadership, and you disrespect the United States Capitol. You disrespect those members of Congress who have been elected to serve all Americans. And what I witnessed was just utter disrespect for the institution of the United States Capitol. And anyone that joined in that should be held accountable for their actions.
Sonica Donge, West 2. My question is for Mayor Demings. I think the bulk of what I wanted to ask has already been asked, but I'm wondering, we've heard the president sort of talk about the wild protests that may happen in D.C. Between you and Representative Demings, was this ever a possibility that you guys had discussed on this day?
Yeah, that's, my wife was a law enforcement officer for a long time, and certainly I served for nearly 40 years as a law enforcement officer. So yeah, we've had conversations about, various things. When I go to the Capitol, I look and I assess the security that I see there. Sometimes I see vulnerabilities. I see opportunities where they can improve. And I think today's events personified that there's something that needs to improve there. That should never happen again. The Capitol Police should never be undermanned to the point where that situation could have been much worse. If they entered the building freely, these are individuals, mind you, that had not been through any type of security checks. No, they could have been armed with everything, and you allowed that to enter into that workspace. That should never have happened on a day in which Congress was supposed to be counting the electoral votes for the presidency of the United States. That certainly should have been anticipated, should have been known, and they could have done a better job. So, yeah. So when I talked to her, she was pretty upset about it, pretty angry, I will say, about it, because she knew that was a failure. There was a failure there today. All right. So we thank you all for those questions. So we have first a former United States Senator. He can tell you that he's probably disappointed as well that happened, but he's here to be vaccinated. So what we're going to do, we're going to have two individuals come up first. So ladies always go first, Commissioner Butler. So we're going to ask Commissioner Butler to come forward. And Senator, you're going to come up, and then we will do Commissioner Hardy's last. So we have the two.
Senator Martinez, what did you think about what you saw today?
Let me do this.
I don't blame you, son.
I did it right.
Right.
You got yours yet? I'm taking it for you. Do a dance for me, Homer. Okay. That's it. You're done. Nothing to it. Thank you. Oh.
Let me give you a sticker for good behavior. This is a sticker for good behavior.
All right. That means I've had, pull me up. No, pull me up.
Oh, you need, oh, absolutely.
Ah, okay, my stick's over here.
All right. Just heard come back, print up on the phone yesterday. Is everything going okay? So far, so good. Any questions you have or concerns? Good. You're not nervous at all? Yeah, I am. Pretty good this one, okay?
What arm do you prefer?
They're both hurt.
No, which one is your dominant arm? You're ready? Yeah. So I got them on the right.
That's it? It's in my pocket, my coat pocket. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes, I am. Is that high enough? Yeah, good. Thank you for starting that.
A little higher.
I'm not gonna scream. If you didn't scream, I'm not gonna scream.
Look at me.
Just like that.
It's over.
It didn't hurt at all.
It's over.
Okay.